Have you figured out your niche? Are you helping adding value to other people's lives? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to Munira's Musings with your host, co-author of Conversations with Top Real Estate Investors Volume 3, Munira Zahabi.
Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira. Welcome to another episode of Munira's Musings. You know, this is a show where we bring on a lot of people with niches and we talk about how niches are found, how they discovered, people discovered their niches, what they do, how they do, and why they do it, right? And this is a show that allows me to explore possibilities and help give people hope who are still on the fence about starting their own business, becoming an entrepreneur, or just getting out of the complacency of the box that they've put themselves in. Our guest today is Dr. Erin Jacobs Stagner. She's here with us all the way from Mississippi. So thank you, Erin, for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. So Erin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I grew up in Mississippi. You can probably tell by a little bit of accent here and there. I grew up on a farm. My parents both worked. My dad worked a factory job. My mom was a chiropractor. It still is. So that's kind of where I kind of got pushed, I guess you could say, in a nice way. But that's just kind of where I fell into is chiropractic in general. So I live about 30 minutes from the town I grew up in. So I've stayed pretty local my life, except for my time in graduate school in St. Louis, which was amazing. So my kids are here, so we're all just hunkered down for a while.
Awesome. So you are a chiropractor. Now, are chiropractors truly doctors?
Yes, it depends on how you want to look at it. When you talk about like medical doctors, we don't fall under that umbrella. It's kind of like you have MDs and then you have DOs, right? So you have doctors of osteopathy. We're kind of more like a DO, but we don't write prescriptions. In some states, I think you probably could. I'm not sure. But for Mississippi, we don't do that. So we take care of the body from a holistic or natural perspective.
Okay, so when you said you want to be on my show and that's your niche, so talk to us. You went to graduate school, and then was that your plan all along to become a chiropractor? And what did you do? Or take us through that.
Sure.
Lane, if you will.
So it's kind of convoluted, but we'll make a long story kind of short because we're on time here. But when I started chiropractic school, it wasn't, well, even before I started, it wasn't my original plan. I wanted to do forensic pathology, but I have a neurological tremor, so my hand wasn't steady enough to work the scalpel and the small instruments. So chiropractic was just, it was an easy thing for me to do because that's what I'd known my whole life from my mom. So once I got out of chiropractic school, it really didn't fit for me. Does that make sense? It wasn't something that I wanted to do 9 to 5 every day. So it took me a little while to kind of get comfortable with what I was doing. And even still, once I got into the day-to-day practice of it, I really had to work to find the group of people that I really love taking care of. So again, it's about finding your niche, right? So for me, that leans more towards moms, pregnant moms and their kids, and then particularly special needs children are really where my heart is. So it took me a little while to find that area for me.
So tell us how did you fall into it, or did you just practice and have a recipe, just try this and then try this until you get it right?
Sure. So how did I fall into it? As far as being like a pregnant mom, I've done that 3 times now. So I knew how beneficial it was for me as a mom. And I'd had training of taking care of pregnant moms and infants in school. And it's just one of those things that it was easy for me to connect with them because I had experienced what they were experiencing. I'd had 3 kids. They were all delivered by C-section because they thought they were going to be big babies for the first one, and then I couldn't have a VBAC because my OBGYN wouldn't do that. So those situations I've kind of understood. I had some pretty nasty sciatica with my second pregnancy. So I've been through the gamut as far as that's concerned. With the special needs kids, I didn't realize it, and I delayed probably helping my own child to come to terms with what she was going through. But my oldest daughter is a high functioning autistic. So I'm in a pretty neat perspective in that I can take care of special needs kids from a chiropractic standpoint, but I'm also a parent of a special needs child. So it puts me in a really neat spot to be able to help people that have special needs children.
Okay, so now when you help, like for me, a chiropractor is somebody who just pushes the bones to where they want it to go. It's like a tree, right? Where you kind of want the tree to grow that way, and then you kind of manipulate it to do that, right?
Sure.
So same concept, same concept. So how would you do that with kids? I mean, how do you do that?
Sure. All right, so you have a common perception that most people have of chiropractic, that I go because my leg hurts or my back hurts or I have a headache, and you make sure that my spine is in the correct position. That's a pretty common thing. Actually, what we do as chiropractors, I'll talk to you the same way I talk to my patients. So what happens is that the motion in your spine is a direct reflection of the health of your entire body. So when you have areas in your spine that don't move like they're supposed to, it's because of one of three things. It's either physical, chemical, or emotional stress that exceeds your body's ability to adapt to it. So when we talk about physical stress, those are the things that we understand. Like I had a car wreck, I tripped over the dog, something like that. I picked up the kids the wrong way. That stuff is pretty common. We see that all the time. When we talk about chemical stress, it's the things that we eat, the things in the air around us, the medications that we take, the things that we put in our bodies. And then emotional stress is the stuff between our ears. And to me, those are the hardest things to take care of. At least it is for me anyway. So
Not for everybody.
exactly. So that's what keeps me in business, right? All the stress that we put on ourselves. So I see a lot of this in kids. So when you talk about physical stress in kids, they're going to fall down on the playground. Their backpacks may be too heavy. They're sitting at a desk all day. And let's be honest, I mean, you're having to sit at a desk sometimes too, right? Do you ever get uncomfortable sitting at a desk?
Yeah, you get restless.
Exactly, restless. And then you ask a child to do that from 8 in the morning until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And I mean, come on now, they are bounds of energy. And then you want to try to contain them in a desk. So it is stressful for them. And then what they eat at school, a lot of times, I don't know about you, but like my kids, I have one that's super picky. If it's not rice and beans or something along that line, she doesn't really want to eat it. So when you think about all the chemicals and stuff that we have in our food, that even if we're super careful about it, they're still creeping in there. And then the emotional stress of, kids get picked on, kids have stress at school about, I've got to make this grade, I've got to do this test, I've got this project coming up. So there are a lot of things that you see in kids that we don't always think about. So it can be pretty stressful to be a kid.
So when you touch a person, can you feel that something is wrong? I mean, you know what a normal body looks like, and then you feel somebody, then you kind of manipulate that, right? And you help them. So when you try to do that, it's like cracking bones. I mean, the first time I went to a chiropractor, they put me in a chair, they gave me a belt. This was years ago. And I just sat there for 20 minutes, and he charged me $120 for 20 minutes. And I'm like,
oh my,
I don't want to do this. Then I went again, and he did the same thing. And I said, I thought you were going to play with my bones. Crack them or something. And so he didn't do that, and I never went back. But I asked him for my money, half my money back. But so that there's so many different chiropractors who do stuff differently. What makes you so special?
Sure. Okay, so when we look at it, when I check a patient, I'm looking for motion in their joints. So what I usually do is I start right at their hips and right where your belt or where your waistline is, and I put a little bit of gentle pressure into that joint. It's no more than what you would use to check and see if a tomato was ripe. You know, when you squeeze a tomato or you squeeze a peach, that's about the same amount of pressure. So what I do is I check all the joints starting from the base of your spine all the way up to the top of your head. And what I'm looking for is a certain amount of spring in that joint. Think about a slinky. Do you remember what a slinky is?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how when you can stretch them and they come back and there's a little bit of flexibility. That's what I'm looking for. So I check those, and when I find a spot that just doesn't quite move like it's supposed to, it's just a little bit of a push. Now, when you think push, it's not like I'm pushing hard enough to hurt anybody. That's not going to happen. It's just a little quick thrust or a push, and it moves that joint into the position so that when we check it again, there's enough flexibility that you can move and do the things that you want to. Now, like you were saying, everybody's different, and there's lots of different chiropractors that do lots of different techniques. So what you experienced may have been just what his particular technique that he uses, and it's probably totally different than the one that I use. So there's going to be some variability between chiropractors for sure.
Yes, each one is different, and I didn't understand why, because he didn't explain. This was years ago.
Sure.
But so there are some people who live in pain forever, right? They are, oh, my back hurts or my neck hurts and I had this thing, and it's like an ongoing story. But they don't do anything about it. So there's questions about insurance is not being taken. Insurances don't pay for chiropractic care, and some pocket. That's another one. That's a big one. And
the
one is putting yourself in a position to take yourself to the chiropractor yourself, right? And saying, okay, believe them. So there's a lot of controversies, and we could go into this a lot, but there's a lot of doctors also who don't believe in chiropractic care. So let's start with that first one. Why don't doctors believe in that?
It's a lot of different perspectives from that. The way that we talk about it with patients who are like, my doctor doesn't want me to come see you. I totally understand that. But I want you to look at it from this perspective. Your brain is the most important organ in your body because it's protected, right? It's surrounded by your skull, and that's pretty thick. Now, honestly, there's thicker in some people than it is in others, but it's pretty thick. So it's really important, right? Everything that comes from your brain, like your spinal cord and all the nerves that come out of that, are all protected by your spinal column. So they're pretty important too. So it's not that I'm wanting to treat any particular disease. Like, I don't promote that I treat diabetes or lupus or cancer or any of those things. That's not my job. My job is to make sure that your brain and your body can talk to each other. That's the only thing I want to do. So the only way they can do that is through the joints in your spine. So a lot of times you'll have doctors that'll say, well, don't go to the chiropractor, just go to the physical therapist. You're looking at two different things. What physical therapists do and what chiropractors do are totally different. So a lot of times it's just, there's a lot of previous history about how terrible chiropractic is. And then you have things like YouTube videos that are all out there that show people getting adjusted by chiropractors and being jerked around and all these bad publicity that we have to fight every day. And I'm sure that happens with other people as well, other groups of, entrepreneurs or business people. So I think a lot of it is just communication, that there's just not a clear understanding of what we do and how we do it. I think that's the biggest thing.
So if chiropractic care is so important, then why don't insurance companies not pay for it?
Some of them do. We have very few. Of course, I'm in Mississippi, so it varies a lot of times from state to state. I do know that federal programs like Medicare and Medicaid in most states, sometimes they don't. Like Medicaid is a little bit trickier because it can vary state to state, but Medicare does cover it. Most of your bigger insurances do cover chiropractic care. There's a lot of limitations on it because there's not always, again, it's communication. You've got to be able to clarify why you're taking care of the patient, what you're expecting, what your treatment goals are, what's your plan for the patient. So if you're clear about that and you can communicate that effectively, a lot of times you don't have any issues with insurance paying for it. And I look at it this way. If you talk about a back surgery that's $25,000 versus 8, 10, 12 visits, maybe a little bit more at the chiropractor, there's a huge price difference. We're super cheap compared to surgery or anything like that.
Wonderful. So when you started your own business and you found your, I mean, what were the steps that you had to take? And I mean, when I assume this is your own practice, you're not partnered with your mom.
We are separate, but in the same building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have your own business. So what were the growing pains that you went through when you started your business?
Oh, it's a lot of being an introvert and having to become an extrovert. That was the biggest thing.
Doing a good job.
Thank you. It's about communication. Again, it all comes back to getting out, meeting people, being able to explain what you do quick and concise and in a way that people understand it. The basis that I take is if I can't explain it to a fifth grader, then it's too complicated. So I try to make everything as simple as possible. So it's meeting people and then staying in touch with them. So my coach tells me, and I tell all the people that I know, if you run into somebody that you know and you get their name and their phone number or their name and their email address, you have to keep in touch with them 52 times for the next year. And then based on numbers, just crunching numbers, 40% of those people will do business with you in the next year. So that's a pretty good turnaround, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing I would tell people who are looking to start a business or who have started a business or who even still have, are running a business. That's the biggest thing that I've learned is like, when you meet people, you have to stay in touch with them.
Do you have a mailing list that goes out, and what do you inform people about?
Sure. I have I have two different websites. So my chiropractic website has a blog that goes out 3 times a month, and then there's weekly emails, and then we have a newsletter that goes out at the beginning of the month. So my database is probably tired of hearing from me, actually. But we try to stay in touch with them as much as possible. My newer business that I just started it launched 2 weeks ago now. It's called the Special Needs Specialist. So we're still building that one, and I'm having to go through all the growing pains again, which is like, it's just, there's got to be light at the end of the tunnel for that.
Of course.
So that one, I'm just getting trying to get the blog going at this point, and then trying to build the website and email list. So that's, it's an adventure, that's for sure.
Where, how do people find you?
Sure. So there's a couple options. Instagram is @JacobsChiro. Twitter is @JacobsChiro. Facebook, you've got 2 options. There's my chiropractic side of my business, which is Doctors Purnell and Jacobs. And then there's the special needs part, which is the Special Needs Specialist. And both of those have their own websites, and I can put those links in the comments.
If you could do that after the interview.
Absolutely.
Any last advice for people who are listening?
Just take care of yourself. That's the biggest thing. Make sure you get adjusted.
All right. So there you go, people. Because the mind and the body has to talk to each other. That's according to Dr. Jacobs. And she's saying that take care of yourself. Now, that's the thing, right? Even if you're looking for a niche and you're in pain and you're not feeling up to it, something is wrong. So go see a chiropractor. And I mean, she's in Mississippi, unless you are there and you want to go see her. But there are so many others. And I'll tell you my own story is that I haven't done it. But in the time that my husband has been sick and everything, there was one point where he wouldn't be able to stop throwing up. Every time he moved, he would throw up. So I called up several people, and then this one lady was like, I think you need to see an acupuncturist. So I found one that was a chiropractor / acupuncturist, and she helped him with, I think, 5 treatments, and his just whole body was okay. He was able to eat better and everything. He did have to continue the 10 that we paid for. But it made a difference. So it's where the belief is, right? It's where what you think is the best thing for her. I send everybody to her and say, she takes care of you, so go. And so it's the best thing ever that I found, because I believe in acupuncture. Chiropractic, okay, but she did a good job, I mean, to me, that's my own belief. But once I saw what she could do, it's like I send people to her because I don't know other people. I send her, which the results spoke for themselves. That's what I. and she does a good job. But so it's belief in that system. You can have a chiropractor, or you can have a coach, you can have a doctor that you believe in, and you could just see their faces and everything's okay. It's that belief system. So,
Exactly.
but that belief comes through inside you.
Mm-hmm.
For those people listening, believe that you can do this. You have a niche, go find it. If you need help, we are here. But you have to believe that it's inside you. Go figure it out. Let's not be miserable, because the statistics show that 40% of the people are happy in their job. The rest of them, not happy. And they're always looking for something else. So let's go do something that makes us happy, right? And that's by finding your niche, building a foundation. Don't have to become an entrepreneur right away, but at least start doing the searching. And like Dr. Jacobs is saying, that she got pushed into it. You never know what's going to be around the corner. All you have to do is get out of your box, get out and just see what's out there, because, the world is so many possibilities. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you being on Munira's Musings.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. You're welcome. And, we'll post this for those people who like this. Go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and if you want to be on our show, go ahead and contact me, because if you have a niche, we want to hear about it. You never know how you're going to impact other persons. So let's get on this show. Let's talk to people and have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Munira's Musings with your host, Munira Zahabi. If you enjoyed our show, please share and subscribe to this channel. And for more content, please join our Facebook group